All right, Rain, you want to step up to the plate?
No, I do think that's a good point. Like going to church, I don't know. I went to church before, like I was listening to the pastors and all that.
I like the Outcast shit, man.
Thank you. I like your fit. I've been peeping the fit the whole time. Like, just to be like educated on like Jesus and God. And all
Okay. Can you get that without going to church? Do you think?
Read the Bible, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be incentivized to if I'm not going to church.
Really? So you would be like, if I want to know about Jesus, I'd go to church. I wouldn't read my Bible on my own. But if I went to church, I'd read my Bible.
Because they're there, they're reading verses, and I'm like, maybe I want to know more about that. Maybe I want to.
All right, fair bet. So if there was like, let's say a group of people that just like met right there on the lawn, and they were just like, hey, we're here to read the Bible and like be people of Jesus. Would that be a church to you that you'd go, all right, I'll read with them?
And also like the Book of John.
If I was interested.
Yeah.
That would incentivize me to be a part of that.
Okay.
I like the community aspect of church.
Let me ratchet up like one extra bit. Like if you could dictate, like, okay, hey, if I'm gonna read the Bible with you, here's what I want to know. And then like it was around that. Like it wasn't like, it's like, let me tell you what I think you need to know, but you're like, hey, I want to discuss this. What does it say about that? And like we went to relevant passages about that. Would that be more of like your speed?
Yeah,
okay.
I would say that.
Well, okay. Well, by the way, I do that all the time. But like, I don't know how, like, what people would want to know. Like, I don't know what people would want to like talk about. Yeah.
So they just have to ask. Anybody have any questions?
Sure.
Like how I came to you and you showed me some verses.
Yeah. I do my best. Right. So would you want to do that? Actually, like, would you actually be like down to like, I don't know, find a table, just chill, get some coffee, and like talk about it? Or what's your thought? Like, if you could choose, Rain's gonna come with his questions, and he's gonna be like, it's gonna be about what he wants to talk about.
Do you have a bad experience?
Yeah. I like engaging in thought.
So like, how valuable would that be to you? Like, you have your week, you got school, and you're here on campus. I'm here on campus. I'll make time for it, but how much time would that be? Like, how much time would you set aside for something like that?
Very separate, like one in the beginning of like middle school and one in the middle, and they're
like 30 minutes maybe.
30 minutes? Yeah, that's fair.
In middle school?
30 minutes is fair, yeah.
Well, I'm saying like whatever the person values that, like I'll be like, sure. You know, that'd be fine with me. If you're like, all right, hey, let's get together, like let's just sit down and like read a Bible, and I have a list of questions that I'd like to like throw down. Cool, 30 minutes, let's go. I'd be down. So, do you have my number?
Oh, are we for real? Like,
I'm being totally for real. I'll do it. I'm down.
Because I was thinking about this the other day, like how I mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I should ask some better questions. Like, I feel like I wasn't on my game.
See, now you would have time to cook ahead of time.
Yeah.
To marinate, and then we would just be like, all right, hey, once a week, let's go meet at a time and a place on campus that you want to, and let's just talk about your questions, man. And I'll bring a Bible, you bring a Bible, and like let's just read it together. I don't know if that sounds cool to you, but I love that. I'd do it.
There's no harm in that at all.
How about this? I'll give you my number, and if that's interesting, you just contact me. If not, don't worry about it. You can come over to my whiteboard whenever you want. It's not an obligation.
Your whiteboard whenever
Yeah.
I'll take it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'd say like
What's your number?
714-328-5064. So that's the thing, like I'm technically a pastor for people who don't go to church. And like that's kind of what I like doing. And there's a lot of value in that for me too, of like the reason I stopped you when I was asking you about this question, like I'm in these different communities, right? I have very particular views of things, and that's okay. But I don't know what people who don't share those communities are considering when they hear this question, or like, I don't know what's on their mind. I'd really like to get to know what's on their mind. Like, what kind of questions do they ask? They're probably different questions that I'm asking about Jesus, but that might be really really valuable. So I'd be down.
Insight.
Yeah, 100%. Might make me think a little bit harder, and I have to get some verses up. Because like if you were to ask me a question right now, I'd pull up a verse for you. Like I have an encyclopedic dictionary in my head of verses, and I can't help that anymore. They're all cataloged. But what's fun is when you ask someone a question and they marry two different categories together that you never did, it changes the way you think about those two categories separately, and it makes a new category where you have to be like, all right, I got to think about this from a whole different perspective and standpoint. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's
The
accident.
origins of Christianity.
The origins?
Yes.
Like what particularly? Like when it started?
Yeah, how it developed in the Middle East.
How it developed in the middle? Okay. Let me ask you this to be like responsible with your time. How much time do you want me to get like a 1 minute, a 3 minute, a 5 minute? Like what do you want from
5
me?
minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. Let me like set my watch. So like I'm like honestly I can like look at my watch.
You could have 7 if you want.
Yeah. Oh dang, I can get
just need
7?
the time to
All right.
pee and go to class.
All right. Let me think. Let me get my Bible real quick. I'm gonna get my.
So it's like there's an essence of
All right, cool. So origins of Christianity, 7 minutes. So Christianity doesn't come out of nowhere; it comes out of Judaism. So like, it's not a new religion. It was actually considered to be a sect of Judaism for a long time because it was monotheistic. It believed in the scriptures that were before it, like the Torah from Moses, the prophets, or we would call it the Hebrew Bible. That's your Old Testament. So the Old Testament comes before Christianity comes. And when Jesus comes on the scene, Jesus of Nazareth in the first century, he says he's filling up the Old Testament. And so all the promises that God makes in the Old Testament, we kind of talked a little bit about promises last time that God makes and how he says they're all yes in the Messiah. They're all yes in Jesus. Jesus comes and says, I'm like, if the new Old Testament's a story, I'm the climax of that story. And so he walks into the whole worldview of Jews in the first century and says, I'm the high point of the story. Like I'm the thing that the story was leading to. So it starts to develop from there. There's a following around Jesus of people who were reading the Hebrew Bible and were saying Jesus he's exactly who we're looking for as the Messiah, just like God was saying in the Hebrew Bible. And then Jesus dies, which was not part of their expectation. They had this conception that when the Messiah would come, he would kick out the Romans and be a military leader like Moses. If you know anything about Moses, the whole Egypt Pharaoh thing.
They did want a military leader, and Jesus was not that.
They wanted a military leader. They wanted someone to come in, take Romans and kick them out.
You were telling me that.
Yeah, that's right. And then what they got was a guy was saying like, love your enemies, forgive those who harmed you. And although he was doing these signs, these wonders, which nobody could contest, like even his enemies, and this is outside the Bible, in the book called the Babylonian Talmud, they talk about Jesus as his enemies and say, we know that Jesus is a bad person because he did these works by the devil. And like, so they're not disagreeing that Jesus did miraculous works. They're just reattributing it to a negative source rather than a positive source. So it starts there. It starts in the first century in Jerusalem and Judea. It starts as a connecting movement to what the Hebrew Bible was talking about all along. And people who became followers of Jesus saw him as the crucial climactic high point. When he dies, that's when they think the movement's lost steam and they're kind of done. Like, your Messiah is dead. That's not the expectation. Moses didn't die like that. Like, Moses didn't go up to Pharaoh and then like die. He led the people out by like a mighty hand, an outstretched arm, all these signs and wonders. Beautiful. Jesus goes up. He's betrayed by one of his own disciples. That makes him look dumb because he's got a guy in his own ranks that betrays him. And then he's executed publicly in the most humiliating way possible, which is by crucifixion, because that was reserved for common thieves and criminals. So that's not the ending you wanted. Like, that's not what you get. You think you're saying when you're like, oh, Jesus is the high point. Then bam, he dies. So there's a story in the Bible, in Luke chapter 24, two of these disciples are walking away from Jerusalem. They're like sad, and it says Jesus starts walking next to them. It's after he's dead, and they're like looking down. He's like, "Why do you guys look so downcast?" And they're like, "How did you not know? Like what they did to this guy that we knew? He was innocent. He was a man. He was a prophet. He was mighty, and they killed him. And it's been 3 days." Jesus goes, "Tell me more about that." And it's like comical, right? It's, again, we talked about like the author writing himself into the scene. Like, it's hilarious. So like, after that dude, after they discovered he resurrected from the dead, that's where the message goes everywhere. The development of Christianity goes everywhere. So like in the first century, and I'm just going to pull this up here out of my pictures, this whole message about Jesus, which gets it gets kind of written down in different places, like the New Testament, the New Testament Bible. This gets like written down in the New Testament Bible, and it goes everywhere, and we know where it goes because we have fragments of it in different places of the world at the time. I'll show you this one little picture. I think we've got something up on here. I think we got these. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So like, for example, here's like, this is the first century, and this is to the 4th century. And what you're finding is these little papyri fragments that have pictures here. Mm-hmm. This is like all over the world within the 1st century to 2nd century. So basically Christianity just gets out. And the Apostle Paul is very popular in terms of one of the people who spread the Christian message. He was the one who he used to kill Christians and hunt them down. He thought that they missed the plot and that they were making a man God, and so he would kill them in the name of like Judaism. But then he himself had a resurrection appearance of Jesus and changed his mind and became a biggest proclaimer. So how did it, that's how it evolved from like starting in Judaism, in Jerusalem, Jesus dies, resurrects, goes everywhere. People were telling the message all over the 1st, 2nd century, everywhere. And then basically from then, the 3rd century, the Roman Empire collapses and actually ends up choosing Christianity as its state religion, which is kind of one of the worst things that kind of happened to it, just because like it kind of like over-institutionalized it, and it took away some of the
Core values.
the core fundamentals and values. Well, for one thing, Jesus was nonviolent, and Jesus didn't kill people. He didn't call for violence. But Constantine, when he essentially said, "Hey, we're going to codify this as like the state religion," they then started making like Christian militias and stuff like that.
And then we led to the Crusades.
Yeah, that's like the seedbed of the Crusades. Is like you already got Christians doing violence by 400 AD, 400 years after Jesus. The first 350 years, it's a big no. We're not joining the military. We're not killing people. Also, you couldn't join the military because the Roman military would make you worship other gods. So you would also not do it for that. But Jesus was nonviolent. So you're talking about 300 to like 1,000. That's where the Roman Empire just kind of takes over and starts spreading Christianity in an institutional way, and it gets dilapidated in a lot of ways. The texts are still there, and there's still communities of Jesus following Jesus. Always, there always has been. But are they on the map? Are they represented well by the Roman government? No, not really. Then you get the church splits between the Catholic Church and Orthodox Church in 1000 AD, and this just kind of goes everywhere. It kind of goes all over Europe, and this is the short story, but that's how it starts. But it really doesn't matter. All of it hinges on whether or not Jesus died and resurrected. If he resurrects, his words are true. He's worth following. If he stays dead, this is kind of like a bunk religion. He was a really good guy, awesome, but he misled people at least. So, what are your thoughts?
They're from North County Project.
I did that in 6 minutes, 30 seconds too.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. I did my best.
I heard my friend told me that his tomb is empty. The only empty tomb, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. That's a funny, it's a nice way of, Muhammad, his grave has his body in it. So Jesus' unique claim, according to the Bible, and I'll just show you the receipts on this. Is an interesting one that a lot of people don't know. Some Christians don't even know about this verse, but this is one that they should know about. It even says in the Bible that if Jesus didn't resurrect, that we should stop talking about this. We shouldn't even be going about it. It says, this is Paul. Remember the guy that said he was killing Christians? So this letter is written by him. Now he's a Christian. And he says, I'm handing on to you of first importance what I had in turn received, that the Messiah, Jesus, he died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and then he appeared to, these are all the apostles and people. Then he says, look, now if the Messiah is proclaimed as raised from the dead, how come some of you say there's no resurrection? Look, if there isn't a resurrection of the dead, then Christ hasn't been raised. If Christ hasn't been raised, then our proclamation, what we're telling people, is vain, and our faith is in vain. And we're then found to be misrepresenting God because we're saying that God resurrected Jesus, which he did not raise. And then he says, if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile, and you're still in your sins. And so then are all those who have died, Christian martyrs who have died sharing their faith, they just died for nothing. If this life only that we have hope in Christ, we're the most to be pitied among all people. But if in fact Christ has been raised from the dead, then that changes everything.
What were the sins of the people that were so bad that we had to send Jesus to die for them?
Why did Jesus die for sins?
Yeah,
good question.
For I don't know how far that would predate back to.
Sure.
Yeah, but back then.
Yeah, no, this is a very important question. What's that?
He died for all of us.
All of us.
Okay, so
yeah.
all of us.
Yeah, it'll
so
say.
What did we do?
Yeah, what did we do? Well, okay, here's the thing. I don't know if you're familiar with what the term sin means. The word sin is like an archery term. If you're shooting at a target and you miss, it's called a sin. It's not a sin in the religious sense. It's meaning that you missed the mark. You were supposed to hit the bullseye. So human beings, what are we supposed to be doing? When you think about what we are, there's a lot of beauty in what humans are, and also a lot of chaos. There's a lot of evil, and we even have words for this where we say when people treat each other in such a bad way, they say, man, they didn't even treat them humanely, humanly. So we were created to be representatives of what God's like. People should be able to look at rain and go, this is what God's like. The way that rain acts, the way that rain treats people, this is exactly what God's like. They should be able to look at you as a mirror, reflecting what you were made from. But the problem is when we look at other people, including myself, if you look at me, if I say this is what God's like, that's a very scary image, because like on my good days, I still lie. On my good days, like I mistreat people. I'm selfish, self-centered. You know, like I could go on a laundry list. But that's the whole point, is humanity lives in sin. That is, it means that they live outside of what their purpose actually is. And so in order to put us back on track, we don't just need to be forgiven. We need to actually repent and turn around and go back to what we were made. That only can happen through Jesus. So Jesus has to atone for our sin. That means make it right with us. He's going to reconcile with us so that we can go back on the right track with him. So we can become what we were made to be. If we don't do that, though, we're stuck in the same loop. The cyclical nature of violence that we have in the world, that's not because God made that. That's us choosing what we want to do. And that's,
I feel like good and evil are both man-made constructs.
Well, even if we say they're man-made constructs, the idea of man-made constructs are constructs made by man as well. Just constructs. The idea of something being a man-made construct is a man-made construct. But that doesn't mean that it's not real. So like, if I talk to people about what's evil, what's good, pretty much everyone has a definition of things that they would say are bad. They may not say like it's evil. They'll have something that they say is good, like how I should treat you. If I say, hey, how should I treat Rain if he's different than me? They'll be like, well, you should treat him with respect. You should treat him with love. You should listen to what he says. You should be kind to him. They would never say like, you should kick him in the shins and take his stuff and then call him names. Like most people will be like, that's not right. And we already recognize, there's something unique in us, Rain, that like already recognizes that's not right.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. And so like, where does that come from? That comes from where we were made from. We were made by God, and we have this moral compass to recognize when things are off compass. We may not have all the right words or the same words about it, but we know when something's off. Like we know. It's like, no, that's not right. Like we see kids that are starving on the streets, we're like, that ain't right. When we see like whole communities that are blamed, or there's people that are shooting them and they're unarmed, and like that's evil. That's wrong. So it's like, how did we get there? We got there because when we were made, we chose instead of choosing intimacy with God and to continue to walk with him and say, we're going to use your wisdom to rule with you. We said, we're going to rule over ourselves and we're going to decide what we think is right. So who's right? Whoever has the most power. And so basically that's where you get the power struggles and you get violence and evil. It comes from humans deciding, we're going to rule over ourselves according to what's right. We're not going to do what you say. And this is where we're at. So in order for God to get us back on track, Rain, he has to do something about it, because we're lost, man. Like we can't think ourselves to a better way. We're the most educated that we've ever been, and there's more slavery in the world than there's ever been. We're the most educated. There's more war and violence and weapons of war in the world than there's ever been. The atrocities, we're in right now in Orange County, where we're standing. This is the sex trafficking capital of the world.
Orange County?
We're in the sex trafficking capital of the world. Right now, where you're standing right now. And see how that defies you? You're like, wait a second, I thought the West, I thought all these things I thought were safe from them. No.
I know the West is evil. I know.
No. Yeah, but you're not sitting in the sex trafficking capital of California or of the United States, but of the world. Orange County.
Why?
And you go, isn't that wrong? And you and I would go, yes, it's wrong. How did we get here? Because when we start deciding that we're going to be whatever we think we are and do whatever we're going to do, it breaks us and other people. And then you cross lines you never thought you were going to cross, and then you keep on redefining the lines based upon the ones you haven't crossed yet. And you can do whatever you want to people based upon their skin color, based upon how old they are. You can do whatever you want. If there is no God and there's no objective way to treat people, then whoever decides what they want, they're their own God and they can decide. So God decides he wants to reconcile us and heal us of this. He puts his own son on the cross for us to absorb all of our evil, and all this evil, all this cyclical violence, he absorbs it himself, he dies, and then he resurrects from the dead, meaning that now death doesn't have the final word, human beings don't have the final word, evil doesn't have the final word, sin doesn't have the final word, Jesus has the final word. He raised from the dead, he beat death, he beat the devil, he beat sin, he beat evil. So anybody who puts their faith in him, they're going to live a new life now. Like they're going to become a new kind of human. This happened to me 13 years ago. I didn't believe any of that stuff. But when I became a new person, a real new person. Like my heart changed. And ever since like believing in Jesus and believing he resurrected from the dead and believing this good news, it's radically shifted my view on everything. It's really radically shifted it. And so like, people become new, man. If they're in Christ, they're a new creation. The old's passed away, the new's come. All of it comes from God, who sent his son to reconcile us, man. That's why it's so important that we get reconciled to him. Why do we want to keep doing this? You know, why do we keep banging our head against the wall and saying we're going to figure out the new cure? of human issues tomorrow. We never have.
What that looks like. It looks like a lot
And we just keep saying we're going to do it, but we don't.
person is doing. And that, I don't know. I think maybe a lot of churches get the encouraging part.
I'm still stuck on the concept of good and evil. So
Yeah.
when God flooded the world, he's like, you know what, my bad. I'm not going to do that again. He felt wrong for that, like he was wrong.
Yeah.
Well, in Genesis 6, when it says it, the reason why God floods the world is it's so full of violence and evil. It says the thought of man was only continually evil all the time. In other words, if you're in a position to stop evil, like let's say, Ray, you're God, and all you see are people mistreating each other below you. You have several choices. You could choose to do nothing, but if you have the power to stop it, is that right? It's not right. It's not morally right. Now, if you recognize that people are going to go no other way than the way they're already going to go, you also have another option. You can say, okay, we can start over and start clean. And so God doesn't apologize for the flood. He says to make sure that we're not too afraid to approach him. He says, I'm going to put my bow in the sky, and that will be a sign between you and I that I'll never flood the earth to destroy it again. Even though, yeah, that's right. So the thing is, when God sees evil, he judges it, not because he hates evil or people that are evil. He wants, hey, what's up, Landon? Good to see you, man. It's because he loves human beings that are good. And if you're in the same position as him and you're looking at all these people hurting each other and they're not going to stop, you have a hard choice to make. Just like how we did in the Holocaust with World War II. The United States didn't want to get involved. But when we heard about what was happening with the Holocaust, we had to get involved. And it was messy. It was not light. But should we do that again? Should we go back to war again so that we can save 6 million Jews from an oven? I think it's dirty, it's messy, it's bad. But if we stand by and do nothing, we're in a bad position, especially if we could have done something, something helpful. So I think that's where we're going here. Like, have you ever done anything bad, do you think?
All the time.
All the time. And do you ever do it on purpose? Yeah, same here. Why do I do that? When I know it's bad, I know it's not going to help me, why do I do that?
Different reasons for sure, but
Sure.
you want the reasons? Like,
Yeah, like tell me your conception. Like, why does someone like me who knows the right things to do, he doesn't do them? He agrees that they're right things to do, but he doesn't do them. What's wrong with him, man?
psychology would say that I take pleasure in my own pain.
Okay.
So, kind of like I know what I'm doing isn't wrong, but I'm doing it to cope with for some reason, and I'm just going to continue to do so in a spiral of self-destruction
Okay.
until I can see otherwise.
Okay. So that's how we're treating a symptom then. We're not treating the root. We're treating the symptom.
For sure.
So I'm saying, what's the root of the issue, man? Why am I in a place? Why do I want to cope? Why not just accept what comes to me, good and bad? I have a lot of things I didn't work for that were good. I don't work hard to cope with those and be like, man, I don't deserve all this. Let me give back. I also have done bad things to people, and they haven't found out. And so what do? You see what I'm saying? Like, I receive so much good from people, they don't know who I am, what I've done. And I receive that freely. I like that. Yes, very good. But when I do evil or do wrong against somebody and I know it's wrong, I don't want to be judged for that. But I definitely want other people who do wrong to me to be judged. Yes, I do. So what is going on with that? What's the root of that, man?
I think about that because I do wrong, but if somebody does me wrong, I want to persecute them. But
Yeah.
I am not God. I can't do that to them.
Ah.
I need to let that go.
I see.
And so even still, I have to forgive myself when I do wrong because I feel like it's an innate thing. If God made us, then He knew what we would become. So innately, whatever I do is just what I do, and I have to just accept that and try to do better.
And that's one thing. I'm hearing you say, yes, I have to acknowledge what I've done, and then start on a different path. I agree with that. I think if you're sincere about that, where that's going to lead you is to Jesus. Because what we really need is, we need a new heart. The heart that we have, which is intent on self and self-destruction too, that heart needs to be removed, and a new heart needs to be given to us to desire new things. Have you heard
Where
that?
Jesus comes into play because
Yes.
rebirth.
Yes, because that's handling the roots of the issue. It's taking care of everything. A lot of people do things because they're scared of dying. Let's take away death. A lot of people say there's a powerful force over me, more powerful than I am, that's controlling me. Jesus can overwhelm that force. A lot of people are saying my sin's too powerful. I don't know how to stop doing what I'm doing. So for Jesus, He's the hope of the addict. He's the hope of the oppressed. He's the hope of the person who needs healing. That's why if you start with Jesus, your heart changes and you become a new person. And yeah, you still stumble forward, but it's way different than before. Way different. And we keep forgetting one person. We never say sorry to God. Like, we act like we're kind of morally better than him sometimes. Like, all right.
I'm all in control.
Like, oh God, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. And he's like, let me pull up your record. Let me see how just you are. Let me see how many times you've lied to people. And let me see if I want to put you in the judgment seat. Hold on. Let me see if I give my seat to you. And you read all the infractions and you go, geez, you're a very judgmental person and you've got not a lot of good reasons to be, you know? And his track record is spotless, blameless, generous. And yet we're like, man, but I don't. It's like, man, we don't start with reconciling with God first. We want to reconcile with ourselves or other people, and that's not wrong. But if we don't go back to the source, then we're treating symptoms. We're not treating the root. So that's why Jesus comes, to reconcile us back to the source. I'll just show you one thing that I think this might be helpful in terms of language. But right here in the same, one of the other letters that Paul writes, it's in the second letter he writes to the Corinthians. He makes a whole thing here. He says, look,
Very entertaining.
he says, Jesus died for all, so that those who live might live no longer for themselves, but for the one who died and was raised for them. And then later on he says, look, if anyone is in Christ, there is a new creation. They're a new person. Everything old has passed away. Everything has become new. Where does that come from? It comes from God. And what did God do? He reconciled us to himself through the Messiah. And if that wasn't enough, look what he does. He gives us the ministry of reconciliation. Meaning, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, and he wasn't counting their trespasses, their sins against them. And then he was saying, on the contrary, not only am I not going to judge you, I want you to partner with me. I'm going to give you my message of reconciliation, this good news about Jesus, so that you become a partner with me in restoring other people and renewing other people. Instead of you being my enemy, I could crush, and that would be fine. I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to welcome you into my life, make you new, and I'm going to send you with the same message that I gave you, so that you can see other people become new. Instead of crushing us, he says, let's be partners. Isn't that crazy? That's what it says. So then it says, for our sake, he made him to be sin who didn't know any sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Righteousness just means God always does what's right towards people. So we are ambassadors for the Messiah. God is making his appeal through us. So God's speaking through me to you, and through to you to me. We entreat you on behalf of the Messiah. Be reconciled to God. Get reconciled with God. Don't mess around anymore with the symptoms. The symptoms are bad. Man, they suck. They suck. I used to be negatively coping all the time. I was in my addiction, and I understood what that meant. But unless we get reconciled to God, man, we go back to the source and get right with the source. We can try to produce some nice things, but it's like spraying perfume on a corpse. It's not going to make it. It'll make it smell better for just a little bit, but it's not going to make it alive.
I have to go to class.
Yes,
Can I
sir.
get your name one more time?
Nick.
Nick.
Yeah. You got me on your phone. If you ever want to meet up, let me know.
I'll be back.
All right, cool, man.
Thank you, Nick.
Hey.